You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to Proof Text. I am Michael Halcomb, and today I have the pleasure of chatting with my friend Mark Cannon. Mark, how are you doing?
Doing wonderful.
Yes, great. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you and I, we've been crossing paths sort of for a while now, particularly at SBLs in the past. And,
Yeah.
You know, biblical scholar conferences back in the Bible Works days. Yeah, I still mourn the loss of Bible Works, but I've become, in spite of having Logos, in spite of having Accordance, in spite of having an old working copy of Bible Works, I've become an avid StepBible user now. That's my go-to. So, and you're plugged in with that, and so we'll talk about that a bit. But tell us what is your title with StepBible these days?
I'm the section head of user engagement, but basically I function as the tech support guy. It's similar to what I did for BibleWorks when I worked for them, but I don't get paid for it. None of us get paid for it. It's an all volunteer group that does this, and we're distributed across the world, though mostly the US, Canada, and the UK, though we do have some folks that are doing things in India, some on the European continent and such.
Yeah, interesting. So you guys got a pretty wide non-profit team or network that's sort of keeping all this going. Pretty impressive. So the StepBible stuff, and anybody who's watched Glossa House TV, Proof Text podcast, they're very familiar with StepBible at this point because I use it pretty much every day on the podcast. But let's before we jump into that, let's hear a little bit. You're a fellow Christian, so I'm interested. I often ask people to like share their sort of story in like 3 stages, like what was life like before Christ? When did Christ get a hold of you? And then what's life been like since? I've learned that a lot of people actually don't remember a time before Christ because they grew up in a Christian household and, you know, a Christian family. So I'm sort of curious about your story. You know, do you remember? Can you remember a time before Christ got a hold of you?
I certainly do. I have a long memory going back to early childhood, and it wasn't until 19 that I came to really know Christ and start following Christ. Though I was a churched child, youth, and such, when I was so junior high age, my mother, then my father followed. They started attending a small house church, which became a storefront church, charismatic. We were kind of in the mainline congregation. It was, you know, grandparents, parents. My dad, he was a pretty avid golfer, so he usually only went to church during the winter months in Ohio. I'm from Ohio.
Okay.
And one of the things as a youth was knowing my dad really had come to the Lord when he stopped golfing on Sundays, except for tournaments. He was a very good golfer. It was kind of a little bit of a witness or testimony of his commitment that he, not that, you know, going to church is everything, but it was evidence of his newfound faith that he had embraced. And
so you grew up I mean, going to church, at least to some degree, and your family, your parents were, your mother was, at least for a while, more involved than your father. And yeah, so when did Christ get a hold of you? Like, when did,
Hmm.
do you remember a distinct moment? Some people do, some
Definitely.
people don't. Yeah.
I got involved in a youth group at the Methodist church in town, and some guys on my football team that I had grown up with. I think maybe the youth leader had kind of sicked them on me, and he was a family friend, started inviting me to youth group. So I got pretty involved in the what we called UMYF, United Methodist Youth Fellowship,
Mm.
back then in the 80s. And that continued. I went to college from next town over to Youngstown State University. So I was
Okay.
kind of working my high school job, living in the bedroom I'd grown up with, and going to college, and going to my home church. But I took my sister down to youth group when I was 19, uh, maybe 18 at the time, but it wasn't until 19 that I went on this trip. There was a district mission trip. We have districts in the Methodist Church, and there were folks going on that, and I uh, just happened to go to a church dinner that they were talking about this trip, and I just really felt I didn't know what a call was, but a call to go on
Mm.
that. And to some extent, I went. It was going to Haiti, sort of talked my way onto the team, and I have to admit that a large percentage of it was to experience another country.
Mm.
Um, a lot of influence was probably Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark at the time.
Interesting.
So I was going for the adventure. When I was there, I experienced just a fellowship of the folks on that trip. We had a pastor from Haiti who was our interpreter, and our worship at night after working, carrying block and putting up a school. Um, just really saw real Christianity. And
Mm.
near the end of the trip, I experienced a call from the Lord. Just I kind of an inward impression. I want to use you, which then put me on to a couple days of well, I know the gospel, but I was totally rejecting it. My
Huh.
thoughts were that, well, that's for about when you're 60 or so, life is winding down, get your fire insurance, but have my fun. My youth group experience was I'd be out drinking with my friends on Saturday night, and then uh, going to Sunday school and youth group on Sunday. But
Mm.
so then I came back, and I was talking to some friends Halloween night, um, about 3 days after we got back, at a McDonald's place that my kind of high schools used to gather in my high school years. And uh, I said, guys, I was telling them about the trip, and I said, if God's calling me, then I need to accept Christ as my Savior and follow Christ. And I want to go do that with my parents. Will you, if any of you guys want to come with me, I'm going to just go ask my parents to pray with me, lead me to the Lord. And
Huh.
several of them did. And one of my best friends, really since we were preschoolers, went along with me. And that Thanksgiving,
Wow.
he came to Christ himself. Uh, so, uh, so that's basically 40 years ago. Was that? Uh,
Amazing. So
yeah.
you had I'm not sure I've ever heard a story like that where a teenager decides, like, all right, Christ is trying to get a hold of me, and I'm gonna go talk to my parents and have them lead me to the Lord. I don't think I've ever heard a story quite like that.
Hmm.
What's interesting about that to me is that a teenager would have the mental wherewithal to be thinking that. Like most teenagers, well, I don't want to say most, but a lot of teenagers, the last thing they want to do is talk to their parents.
This was
Right.
19 years old. I don't know,
Okay. So
maybe the
some maturity
cusp
there.
of. I had my first year of college under my belt.
Okay. All right. So some maturity there. Yeah. But still that's interesting. So you go to your parents and what do you do? Do you pray the sinner's prayer? Like how does
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is that what happens?
Uh-huh. And
Okay.
then shortly after that, uh, we had a bookstore in town, Christian bookstore. I went down there to buy my own Bible, and I saw my mother's pastor and asked his advice, and uh, he suggested a King James Thompson Chain version, which our friend, I've had some conversation with our friend uh, James Smith,
Yeah, yeah,
James
yeah.
Michael Smith. He just did something on Thompson Chain recently, but I've got to admit, I tried reading it and I really struggled with the King James language at
Mm,
that
yeah.
time. It wasn't until, but it was one of those things that I bought a leather Bible, and I put a lot of money into it. And I really tried, but I I think in the next year I got an NIV study Bible. And that's really when I started reading the Word more. Uh, yeah.
Nice. Excellent. So you grew up in church, kind of, you're pretty involved. It sounds like you go on this mission trip, and you hear a distinct call,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and you go to your parents and ask them to lead you to the Lord. And so what was life like after that, in the wake of that?
Uh, I mean, there was ups and downs. There was obedience and disobedience to the Lord, um, but I was pretty much. I mean, my college spent a number of my college years at a state university trying to figure out what would be the best preparation for seminary, and
Hmm.
also I didn't know whether it was a call to missions or a call to being a pastor. I mean, it was just really kind of a generalized call that the Lord gave me, and I think that's really worked out in my life over the years. Uh, but so I finally settled on social work as a major because I thought it would give me maybe some counseling stuff. And but I was really geared towards. I had learned about Asbury Theological Seminary,
Hmm.
our mutual alma
Yeah.
mater, uh,
Yeah.
which I remember seeing you years ago before I ever got to know you. You were kind of doing a lot of interviews with their media
Oh,
back in the day. And I remember saying to Jim Barr, "You should talk to this guy." Or when Jim
great.
told me that he had met you, so I I said, "Yeah, I've seen Michael on stuff with Asbury," but
Yeah.
it was yeah. I went to Asbury about a month after I graduated from college and uh, started off in a missions MA, but switched over to MDiv,
Okay.
and about midway through, I felt like the Lord was directing me more to pastoral ministry, so uh,
Okay.
pastored for a number of years, um, and then uh, felt um, uh, kind of the pull towards trying to get a PhD. So I went back down to Asbury. My wife said um, that one of the few places she would agree to move to
Hmm.
was Wilmore,
Yeah.
in that she was familiar with it. We had two young kids at the time, so that was about after 12 years of pastoring in the East Ohio Conference in the United Methodist Church. And then we headed back and worked on, I had to do some remedial seminary. So that's really where I got into the languages. I mean, though I had aced Greek in my MDiv, I think I spent those 12 years wishing I knew how to use it and just struggle with it, and didn't have some of the resources we have today, or I tried going back. I tried using Mounts just on my own, Mounts's Greek grammar and such.
So you get some of the biblical languages under your belt when you go back and do some more seminary. Where does BibleWorks come into the picture?
Well, I was in the London School of Theology program at the time, and I also had some opportunity to work there at Asbury with Joe Dongel as a teaching intern for his inductive Bible study course in Mark. I was working on the Gospel of Matthew under Ben Witherington, and in Joel Green's PhD seminar. But I was just really struggling with my writing. I was not a disciplined writer, and I probably, and getting involved in a local church there in Lexington. My wife and I, we kind of did the switch. She was a network administrator and computer person, and while we were there, she's although she did a lot of things with children's ministry, kind of while our kids were young, but she became children's pastor at Hope Springs church in Lexington. And so then she eventually became Christian education director in a number of churches during my BibleWorks time. But to answer the question about BibleWorks, I just, after 4 years of being a full-time student and caring for my kids, I just thought it was time to start shouldering the burden of providing for the family. And I saw this job come up at BibleWorks because I was just a daily user in the MA and PhD program, and probably looking at the user forums when I should have been writing. But I applied for the job. Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was going to say that reminds me of a story that, when you said you're studying at Matthew, I'm surprised it was not under Dave Bauer. That's his whole thing. But it reminds me of a story Dave Bauer often tells, where when he was, how he knew he was supposed to be a professor rather than a pastor. I don't know if you've heard the story, but it's kind of funny.
I don't think I have.
He says he was serving at a church, and he went to go visit some elderly woman. He went on a pastoral visit. This is hilarious. And he's sitting there, and this elderly woman's sharing her life, pouring out her life to him. And he says, I didn't hear a word. I couldn't remember. If you asked me, I couldn't tell you anything she was saying. I didn't hear a word because, as she was talking, I was just parsing Greek verbs in my head. He said, that's when I knew I was supposed to be a professor rather than a pastor.
But Dave, with his students, he had a
pastoral side.
Yeah, he had a very pastoral side. I just thought, in class, you were just like, whoa, he just, you felt like he just lives and breathes Matthew.
Yeah.
But just talking, going into his office, talking to him, just also felt a very pastoral vibe from Dr. Bauer as well.
Yeah. But he's sitting there parsing verbs, when he's supposed to be, pastoring this woman, and you're supposed to be writing papers, but you're reading user manuals. So it just it makes me laugh. Yeah. So you get on at BibleWorks, and how long were you with BibleWorks?
12 years.
Good chunk of time.
I was the last one to close the door to the office. I mean, it was cleaned up after I left, but I was there until the near very end in 2018.
Rest in peace, BibleWorks. Man. I talked to the founder of the company several times, trying to get him. Hey, let me just try to buy this company from you and just keep the software alive. We'll keep it at its current state. We won't even update it. There's reasons for why he wouldn't do that. You probably know some of those, but yeah. So rest in peace, BibleWorks. But I'm really thankful. I don't know how I would have got through seminary without BibleWorks. Even ministry, I relied so heavily. The way that I was using BibleWorks daily, and I don't exaggerate, I do mean daily, like in just my ministry, it was really, really important. And now that's switched over for me to StepBible, and just so happens you're on board with the StepBible folks, and I thought it'd be fun too. Maybe you could show us around StepBible, show us some of your favorite things or some features that we might not be aware of, or I don't know, whatever you want to show us if you're up for that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to admit that in my own use of Bible software, I tend to use Accordance, BibleWorks, Logos, and StepBible.
Interesting.
In that, having been in that world, I've acquired them all. I had Logos really since 1992, but got into BibleWorks when I went back to school, and then it was just wonderful to. I ran the workshop training program, would go out and do full day workshops, and we had a number of regional trainers that would do that for us, and also just working with people by email, calls. It was kind of doing all kinds of things. I wanted to use those. I had those years of gifts and skills with that, so I approached David Instone Brewer about a year after BibleWorks closed, and actually, I used to recommend StepBible because of all the resources that it has, like the word analysis here, that you've got. You just mouse over things. You get up top a instant lexicon, but if you click on the word, you get some more details, and it'll give you the Greek or Hebrew word. It'll give you transliteration, and your viewers might be very familiar with this from all that you've done. So maybe I don't need to give the basics, but sort of as a pastor, just some little things like when I'm scoping out maybe a sermon series or something. In fact, I'm thinking about doing one on Philippians shortly, and just here in the ESV, go into summary, that it's easy to kind of get a book summary just quick.
Mm.
And this is probably helpful for people who are just, maybe new to Scripture and such. But one thing that we're about to do with the ESV is switch it over. Right now, we've got this thing called the ESV Morph, but this is going to become our regular ESV, that all the words they have, let's see, yeah, I'm in the ESV Morph, but you've got, I don't know if you can see over in the word analysis, or when you mouse over, it's got the parsing, the grammar for the word. And in the word analysis, if you go down here to grammar, you've got an explanation of the grammar in some very simple terms.
Oh, nice.
So that's nice for people who, let's see, just looking for. So when you go to a verb, it gives you some explanation of the verbal action and such.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know about this feature, actually.
Yeah, it's been there. We've sort of quietly put it in and just put it up on our user forums and Facebook page that it's there. But we were letting people use it for a while to see if there was any bugs or kinks in it. But it won't be too long before that's just our regular ESV. But you can also easily, if you go to options, if I add in some other languages, so if you go over to this Bible button, click on Ancient, and you can add in original language text like and these codes over here on the right side tell you there's a key to it down here, but some of the features that those Bibles have. So I've just picked the translator's Hebrew Old Testament, which was done by scholars at Tyndale House, Cambridge, the Septuagint, and then the SBL Greek New Testament. That tagging was done by Tyndale House folks as well. But then when I'm displaying them, I can do a column view for comparison. But I just wanted to have all of them in there so I can easily show you that in the different languages as well. And the nice thing too is when you mouse over, they will highlight the words across the different, the translation and the original language.
If you click like epuesin in Genesis 1:1 of the LXX, does that grammar feature show up in that as well? Is that just
it's not keyed to the ESV in Genesis is going to be keyed to the Hebrew, but if I add there's a sort of companion English. Let's see. It's got actually the AB. Where is it? Okay, Apostolic Bible. So there, if you have an English that's tagged to the Septuagint, tagged to the Greek there.
Okay.
You see, is that what you're looking for?
Well, you had that grammar explanation. I hadn't seen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Just click on the word.
Yeah.
And it's down there at the bottom. But with such a common word, you notice there's a whole lot of information
Right.
in the what do you call it? The well, this is meaning here, so this is not even going to be the Little Scott dictionary. That's actually
Mm-hmm.
the Mounce dictionary
Okay.
on Epoise, and excuse my Erasmian
No, that's
pronunciation.
all right. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So yeah, some interesting features. You also
Oh,
have yeah, go ahead. You can say something.
the one nice thing with the ESV Morph that I've been enjoying as I kind of try and keep up with my Hebrew, which I had gotten away from it, but that does bring color code
Huh.
grammar into play, so you can see um,
Right.
some of the morphology with a bit of interpretation of it uh, by color coding.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting. Yeah. I know Fred Long really likes that color coding. I'm less of a color coding kind of person, but I know he loves it. What are the arrows doing there? Are they just pointing back to the subject? Is that what?
no, they're more it's kind of an interpretation of the verb form. And
Oh,
if we go up here to examples, and I think we can easily get an explanation of that here in if you the color
oh,
table. So that's going to be your Greek verbs. Um,
I didn't know about this. That's really fascinating. Huh.
but so the arrows. I mean, I can't articulate it right offhand, but like here in call imperfective, you've got a different pointing arrow than just your call vav consecutive.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So
But
those.
yeah, you'd find those explained in if you go up to more and guide, um, and you're going to find a section on like original language tools that will take you to some better explanation on the color coding. So here's our verbs down here,
Oh,
and that'll
did
tell
you
you.
open up in a new tab? Did you go to a new tab?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, not as versed in
No.
sharing as you are for these
It should
things.
just say, yeah, there you go, share this tab instead at the top or something like
Let's
that.
see. Yeah, so you didn't see me getting there, but are you seeing that
Yes,
picture
yes.
now?
Wow, that's like learning a whole new language in and of itself.
Yeah,
Learning
I
all the
mean, I
yeah.
wouldn't, and it is a little bit configurable for your own as well. Um,
Huh.
but
Yeah.
I mean, the key, always the key, I think, with Bible software is, uh, I mean, there is some learning curve with how things are presented, but to not key in so much uh, to how that particular thing does it. I mean, look for the end goal of how is the language functioning, uh,
Right,
and
right.
what's it seeking to indicate.
Yeah. Yeah, not relying on it in the sense that it's doing all the work for you, right? It's using it as a tool to help um to help clarify and explain.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, to me, the greatest thing about the Bible software like this or resource like this is the speed at which you can do searches and you can do various things. Whereas, back in the day, I was buying Greek and Hebrew concordances and lexicons and, or lexica, and, it takes a while to flip through those things.
Yeah.
You gotta get up and get them off the shelf. And, it takes time. And so the rapidity, that to me is like the greatest thing about any of these Bible resources. The search features and how quickly they do. And BibleWorks to me was always the one out of like the three big players: Accordance, Logos, BibleWorks. BibleWorks was always lightning fast compared to everything else, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Bible's fast.
I thought it was very command line based, and there were clickable things. There was a bit of, you had to know to put in a period before something to do a search, versus like searching for the word John, put a period before it, but searching or going to John 1:1, you just type in John space 1. You do space 1 space 1, or space 1 period 1, or space 1 colon 1. But the thing with you were talking about using lexicons and such, and I think I'm sharing StepBible again.
Yeah.
But one thing we did recently was, with lexicons, with paper lexicons, you're trying to, you've only got so much paper, so many pages to use, and electronically, you can spread things out to make it a little bit more readable. So over in the word analysis, we took like something that would have all different usages of word, and maybe a poison isn't the best choice. Maybe we should use a less, but like all the information here on Abyss would have been like in one paragraph, but we took the meanings and kind of separated them to make it a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
But say with a long thing like the LSJ dictionary, little Scott Jones, that makes that a little bit easier by taking its sections and them not being all conglomerated together in one block of text.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something relatively new for StepBible.
Nice.
We have followed on from commercial software doing that to some extent. So it wasn't an original idea. It was following somebody else.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That it improves the end user experience.
Yeah.
That's good. So the color coding stuff, I've not really played much with that, but man, there's so much good stuff on here, and I wish. Sorry, I was gonna say I do wish, and maybe we can do it, and I just don't know about it. But like the whole way that we could do some of that command line stuff that we were able to do in BibleWorks. So I could like say things like, find me every errorist, or in Genesis, or find me every errorist, Mark, through Mark through Luke, like I could do very specific searches like that with command line, find me every word that ends with a sigma, like really cool things like that. I wish we had some of that capability with StepBible.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's just it's not as easy to do. We used to have a more command line with this classical interface that say if you privileged a morphology version. Oh, it doesn't like it because I'm on an Old Testament, but and now that I've moved to New Testament, I'll be okay.
Can you share your
But
screen again, or no?
I sorry? I thought I was back to. Thought we were already sharing. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the sort of classical command line. It's available under classical interface.
Okay.
We don't use that so much anymore. It had some options for choosing specific forms, but I didn't find it that easy to work with. We are doing sort of a morphology tool where you can pick specific things, say a passive aorist, a call imperfective, but that's further down the line. We're not ready for that yet. One thing with StepBible is we're dealing with making this available and workable for just lay folks that are doing a Bible study together online. I mean, I've talked to some folks that didn't even know that we had this extensive web-based program. They've just used the apps where they can tap on words in the ESV and get the original language word with a quick lexicon. But the thing is, like, you can say search for create and just type it in English, and then you've got your Hebrew, your Greek options that you can run searches for, and it tries to make it user friendly with transliteration, but you can also add in the language if you're to have that there if you're more advanced.
So I notice up in the word where it says like types of search, word or phrase, and then on the right side it says create, and then it's got an asterisk after it, and so that seems to indicate words that start with create. Is that?
Yeah. So that's going to be like a wild card for the rest of the letters.
Are there other things like that I can do? Like put in the I can put in the asterisk there. Are there other things that I can, type in, like you were saying in BibleWorks, how we type in like a underscore or a period, those sort of command line things.
There is some morphology commands that you can do. I don't use them that much, so I'm not really versed on it. But I mean, it's very similar to, let's see, like you can do the Strong's number, but it's sort of easy to pick that up. Let's see, by showing the Strong's number. So for this, like, Tizo, let's see, I lost that. Let me see if I can get this for you. So that's a G2936. And then using the @ sign. And then the morphology codes are similar. I just don't have them memorized. And there may be a bit more search syntax. I'd have to kind of bone up on this to walk you through that maybe in the future.
Where could I find that kind of list to?
It's not something we've perfected, so we sort of have it internally.
I
Because
see.
we're doing something more to let you pick by form in the future,
Yeah.
from my
I
understanding.
mean, I had to I do a Greek vocabulary episode and a Hebrew vocabulary episode for the podcast every week, and I'll type in my Greek and boom, it pops up quick. Or type in Hebrew even on that search line, it pops up quick.
Mhm.
It'd be great to be able to do that, to like show me every aorist, kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I miss about BibleWorks, but that command line ability. I hope you guys will consider bringing features like that in that
Yeah.
allow to allow some of us to be like power users, if you will. That would
Yeah,
be
I think one difference for myself is that with Bible, when I worked for BibleWorks, that was my 40-hour or more a week job, and doing long training workshops. But
yeah,
now this is something I'm supporting outside time,
yeah, right,
serving a church and family
right.
and all that. So I sort of work it out when the question gets answered, and we'll make up some screenshots and maybe even a video, put up a video on our YouTube channel. But I don't have um, the continual usage of it for it to get implanted in my brain. I've got to
Yeah,
admit.
yeah, yeah. I understand that. But well, maybe at some point we'll us users will be able to get a user guide to again become like super users or something. I really miss those, being able to do those powerful searches. Um, that was a great feature.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks for showing us around. Some of this I actually didn't know. Um, I haven't used some of these features, so that's good. To know about some of that. Anything else you dying to show us on here?
Let's see. Let me share another tab. I've gone to resources there in the upper
All right, you might have to
section.
switch. Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. So when I hit resources, you've got, and these will probably open in another tab that I'm going to have to jump there.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a harmony of the Gospels that will. Did that show up for
Yep,
you there?
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. Let me leave the column view here and just go down to. And I'm going to get rid of the color code. One thing to note, on the configure color code, it tells you get like a quick to see what those are too without having to go into the guide.
Oh, nice.
But take that away, and I think I'll just go to a Greek and an English. But if you click on one of these, it's going to be better if it's only one version. So it'll
yeah,
take
that's nice.
all those passages and put them for you in one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The nice thing about this being a web browser is you can just use your back button actually to go back to some things. But you've got some lists of, you can find miracles in the Bible, view those. There's an Old Testament harmony. Where's that at? Old Testament parallels, that is. So let's say your First and Second Samuel,
cool.
or
That's nice.
Chronicles, easy to do comparison there.
That's
and you
really
don't have
nice.
to. I've got the synopsis over on my shelf.
Yeah, right.
But
right. Yeah, that's a cool feature. Wow.
Yeah, some letter structure.
I have seen that one. Yeah, that's nice too.
But also the maps.
Mm-hmm.
Places in the Bible. So if you click on map, you've got some options there. And if it's within you can go to Google for its location. Did that go to another screen?
I think so. Didn't.
Yeah.
I think you went to another screen, but we're still looking at StepBible.
Yeah. Yeah, these, let me find something that is within. So I clicked on Beth Horon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need to switch to another screen here.
Usually, if you just go to the other tab on the other screen, it'll say switch to this one.
Oh, right, really? It will? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So are you seeing just a map there with some choices?
So I'm seeing back on StepBible. I see still 2 Kings. I see the map with Damascus. Yeah.
Yeah. When I click to the other choices, it's not doing that. Oh, share this tab instead. I've got it. How about?
Oh yeah, there you go. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have the folks at Tyndale House Cambridge did coordinates, latitude, longitude. So we send these out to another website that provides some maps that go back to the British Mandate period. And were pretty detailed that like give locations of cisterns, things like that, water sources, and you can do this thing where it or wait a minute, it's a split screen that I like.
Whoa, I've never seen this.
So you can have the map and then pull over to see a satellite image too.
Wow, that's really cool.
But the nice thing is when you're reading, how am I back on StepBible?
You're not sharing anything now.
Okay.
Yep, you're back on now.
Yeah. Boy, don't you love this hand holding for a technology guy? But I am a pastor too, so.
Hey.
But like, let's see. Let me go over to beginning of so Nazareth. When I click on Nazareth, there's a button for map, and so we go to the tab that opened. Then when you go to pre-modern maps, you can get right there. And if you want to use that toggle split screen, but it's got a number of different map overlays.
That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I had no idea about that feature. Wow. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm gonna put you on the spot maybe a little bit here. See how you do. one of the things I often ask people to do at the end of these episodes is we call it a parting shot.
Hmm.
To share like a quote or a favorite quote or a joke or a statement or a saying, maybe something your grandma or said all the time, but it doesn't even have to relate to anything we've been talking about, but just something else to leave people sort of pondering or thinking about. So I'm wondering, any quote, song lyric, anything, saying come to mind?
Um, Boy, how long do people usually take to come up with something?
It varies. I used to give people a heads up, like, "Hey, be thinking about this." But like I said, I just hit record now and see where it goes. Sometimes people will come up with stuff, and sometimes people won't. Sometimes people
Yeah.
will share a favorite Bible verse or you know, a song lyric or something like that. But
Well,
um,
I nothing's coming to mind, but um, I can't. One thing I would say that is sparked by I've been spending my days packing in recent days, along with
okay.
ministry. We're kind of in transition as a
Hmm.
family, moving from where I'm pastoring in North Carolina up to Virginia, and kind of bringing our family together. Our
Hmm.
kids have relocated, or one of them's there, and another one's headed there in a few months. So, been calling us to come be with them. But I am a big audiobook podcast guy.
Okay.
And I mean, in terms of listening. And so, packing while listening to an audiobook, I um, was hadn't yet listened to my friend Carmen Imes' book on being God's image, but just hearing something she was explaining, and she mentioned uh, a close reading of the text. And I would
Hmm.
say that something that got ingrained in me that maybe I didn't. I mean, to some extent, I got it, but I didn't really have that definition of it uh, in seminary. Was just, I think, the importance of encouraging folks to do a close reading of the biblical text is has been a new foundation that was laid for me about 20 years ago,
Hmm.
and uh, that these tools are helpful, but I think we also get stuff from uh, the way we are in our day and age, at least for maybe people my age, is the use of printed biblical text too, and marking things. I mean, I like to have a pencil and maybe a blue and a red pencil to
Hmm.
mark some things. But with StepBible, I can also just have my phone and tap things that I need to know
Right.
about.
Right.
But it always come back to close reading of the text and observation uh, is what I would encourage everyone to do, to be able to evaluate interpretations and things that you get from um, a lot of great scholarship out there. But
Mm.
it's incumbent on us to do that close reading.
That that good Asbury inductive Bible study
Yeah.
mission right there. Yeah. Man, we got to be grateful for that. There's something to that tactile marking things up, and yeah, something rich. You can't really replace. But well, Mark, man, good seeing you. Always good talking to you. And you and I have shared in seasons of prayer for one another over the years, and grateful for that. And thankful for your ministry in various capacities. And yeah, it's good to see you, man. And best to you as you and your wife are in transition. Your kids are in transition, and yeah, hope all that goes well. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on, carving some time out. Come on and talk with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thank
Yeah.
you for sharing your use of StepBible in the work you do with proof text as well.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, if you're watching or listening, check out stepbible.org. One of my favorite websites out there. Again, I rely on it daily for the work I do for my own study. And check out glosahouse.com and the Glosa House TV on the YouTube channel and the Proof Text podcast. So we're going to stop there, friends, and say we hope that helps.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glosa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glosa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glosahouse.com today. Glosa House, language resources for the global community.